He now becomes England's leading wicket-taker of all time in Test matches. He has gone past Glenn McGrath.
Jimmy Anderson is the best of the best. Only spinners are ahead of him now.
First of all, belated happy birthday.
Thank you.
Test cricket continues at 40.
Yeah, I think I feel fortunate that my body can cope with it. I only play one format, so I get the time to rest in between series to get recovered from the series before and get ready for the next series. I'm not unique by any stretch, you know. You look at the world of sport, there's still guys, or sportsmen and women playing at this age. So yeah, I feel fortunate that I can still do it, but still enjoying it, so I'll keep going.
Talk about longevity. I mean, obviously with one format, just playing the test matches has helped. But there's got to be more to it than that.
I look after the things that I've had problems with, I guess, in the past. So my calves, I've had a few calf tears in the past, so I do work on them. Look after hamstrings, my back. So yeah, just the things that I've struggled with in the past, I try and strengthen those areas, look after them. It's a whole package when it comes to bowling. It's not just the training that you do, it's the recovery as well. So I try and look after that side of it.
You're big into ice baths?
I do ice baths. I try and bang out 10 minutes after each day, straight off. You know, getting the massage in, getting the right food in. So try and look at all the areas that can possibly help and try and tick every box to just leave no stone unturned, basically.
4 or 5 hours walking on the golf course, that counts as time on the feet, right?
Time on feet, absolutely. That's something that we joke about it, but that's what we try and do. Try and walk around the golf course 4 or 5 hours, because I think that's the thing that you can't replicate is the day in the field. So it's fine doing the bowling, getting your bowling workloads up. You're actually standing around in the field for 6 or 7 hours. That's the thing that takes it out of you. And I think also nothing can prepare you for that. So you know, no matter how much cricket or how much preparation you have for a test match, that first day in the field is always going to hurt. So
also nice to have a partner in crime in Brody, can bounce ideas off, similar situation.
I feel fortunate to have played with him for as long as I have. He's someone who is great to talk to, thinks a lot about the game. And we just, constantly bouncing ideas off each other, whether it's about cricket or whether it's about training or preparation or golf or whatever it might be. We're just constantly talking all the time, so it's great to have him around. You know, we know each other so well that I guess throughout your career you pick up a checklist. So if something's not working in the game, you'll go through your checklist. So we know each other's checklist, so we can go, like for me, or when Brody's maybe not in rhythm or something, I'll ask him if he's picking his legs up. Running straight at the target, you know, little things that might just get him into that rhythm. And even this last couple of weeks, we've been sort of doing a bit of commentary, but we managed to get a bowl in at Southampton a couple of weeks ago, and he's been working on something, so I tried to help with that. So we were almost like, each other's coach, almost, trying to help each other.
Is there still that element of excitement when you come to play a test match? Being involved in this new setup with England, the way they're trying to approach the test cricket now in the last 4 games or so, is there still that element of excitement when you wake up in the morning?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that, as soon as that goes, I think that's when maybe I've got to start thinking about another career, because, you know, it's a huge part of this sport in particular, the time you have in the dressing room, the friends you make, that side of it. And I think you need to enjoy it. You need to love what you do, and I've got a passion for it. I love bowling. Still love working hard in the nets at different skills and things like that. So I think that's really important. I think certainly the last few months with Ben and Brendan, I think that's really their sort of attitude has helped me as well. It's given me a new lease of life. I feel like I really want to be a part of this group. The way they want to play the cricket, I feel it's a really exciting time to be a part of this team, so I'm looking forward to what's to come.
Bit of a left field question. You're doing a bit of media work, you watch some of this 100 and the T20s. Do you feel for the bowlers? And do you sometimes sit there thinking, I wonder if I've got a few ideas that I could get out there and implement and still be effective at that format?
I think, having seen the ball swing this year, I think I definitely would like a go at it.
Michael Hogan, 41 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still playing?
Exactly. I think as long as you're performing at a high level, it doesn't matter how old you are. And sometimes the older the better, because the more experienced you are, you can bring something extra to the team. Obviously, you still want to see young guys coming through and performing. But the odd bit of experience here and there is definitely.
So do you sit there and think, oh, why don't they try this field, this kind of livery?
Yeah,
I often do it myself.
Yeah, but I think that just comes from years of playing cricket, and I've always watched the game. Yeah. I've always thought about the game. Even when I'm not, I've never been captain, but when I'm out on the field, I'm still thinking about how can other guys go about their job and field settings for certain batters. I'm not just thinking about my job and what I need to do. You still think about other things and how you can help the team in other ways. So I've watched a lot of the 100, and I think the balance has been good. I think there's been some good batting, some good bowling. But yeah, I feel like I'd be interested to see whether I could do a job or not.
Okay, moving on to South Africa. I mean, you've played a lot of tests against them. There's been some fantastic battles. 3 or 4 batters maybe that you haven't even bowled at in this current side. Looking forward to that challenge?
Yeah, definitely. I always love bowling against new faces and new challenges, trying to figure guys out. Obviously, we get loads of footage given to us, but I think there's
You're a footage watcher too?
To an extent, yeah. I don't like getting sucked into watching loads of it. But it's nice to just see how someone sets up or how they look. I still think there's definitely something in actually going out there and trying to work a batter out for yourself and in the heat of the battle.
And coming out to play test match at Lords still gives you a buzz?
Yeah, just walking around the place you get a buzz. It's an amazing place. It's changed a lot since I first played here. Lots of
well, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, lots of development, but it's just it gets better and better every time you come here. It's an amazing place. The crowd's always brilliant throughout the whole week. There's a certain buzz that I think Lords brings to a test match.
Did you get a fifer? Did you get a special star next to your name? The fact that it's over 40 and managed to get a fifer?
Definitely.
Over 40 is round of honour. Let's get something like that.
Yeah.
Well, if you look up there, I mean, there's Barnes, there's W.G. Grace. I think they played into their 50s. I'd be very impressed if you get that far. But without putting you on the spot, you're just taking it game by game. I mean,
I felt like the age thing's been I've been asked about how long I'll keep going for probably 5 or 6 years now. Once as a bowler you get to mid-30s, everyone's like, well, you surely can't go on much longer. But I just think that I've been blessed with a body that can cope with bowling. My action doesn't take a huge amount out of me. My speeds are still good enough. I still feel like I can throw myself around in the field, chase balls hard to the boundary. So as long as that stays, I don't see why I can't.
No time frame.
No, I think if you talk to a lot of people, I shouldn't be playing at 40. 40 is like this age where you definitely should be moving on to something else. But for me, I don't feel 40. It's a number. The age thing's just a number. So it's like, as long as I'm, like I said, as long as I'm fit, contributing to the team, bowling well, then who knows how long I can go on for. Maybe 50 is a stretch, but we'll see.
Okay, last question. At 40, you're entitled to one bugbear. Which has been the biggest issue through? Is it footholds? Is it warm-ups?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Can I just is it just one?
Just one. So you can go with it. At 40, you can give us a list of 2 or 3.
No, I've never minded warm-ups. I think warm-ups is something that a lot of people don't really like, but I don't mind warm-ups. Footholds is one. I think the day before a game, I'm just looking out there now, he's going up and down with a lawnmower on the wicket.
It should be banned.
For me, it should be a limit on how low you can take the grass on a pitch. You should be able to keep a bit on there. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's been loads throughout my career, but I'm actually quite laid back, I think, off the field. A lot of people might not think that, but I am, and I don't really get wound up by too much.
Okay, well, great to get your thoughts. All the best for the test. Keep going.
Thanks,
40 plus.
Laid back is not necessarily how I describe Jimmy Anderson all the time anyway. I mean, his numbers are absolutely staggering. The amount of test matches he's played, the wickets that he's taken. Is for you, as a former bowler, the most impressive number 40? 40 years of age and still bowling in test match cricket?
Yeah, I think it is. I think the 173 is probably the most. I mean, someone could have had a sporadic career where they've played 5 tests a year or whatever it may be. I mean, to have done it from that young age, I mean, he touched on the fact that longevity, I mean, going to the one format is impressive. But I think just the way he's continued to go about it, because there hasn't really been ever a question about his ability or his performance. It's actually just been down to the kind of thing that you naturally think, well, a 40-year-old shouldn't be doing it. It hasn't been, oh, well, Jimmy's not bowling well, or he's not quick enough, or he's not performing as well as he should. He's probably got better as he's got on. I me's stats initially, I think he was very much trying to be a strike bowler. He would probably average 27, 28. But at the back end, he's almost got that understanding. Malcolm Marshall always told me, he said, if it's not going according to plan, don't just be willy-nilly about it and give away runs. He said, because after lunch it might go according to plan and you've got 3 for 40. He says, where you continue to try everything and you go for 60 in your first 10, you're never pulling it back. And that's what he does brilliantly as well. And that's part of his role, you know. With the new ball, you try and do as much as you possibly can, but there's also periods where he'll still continue to try and pick up, but he just hold the game. And I think that's the art that he's developed. And it's also the conditions. He's gone around the world. It's not just, I mean, yes, the bulk of it's been in England, but and the Duke ball, and that all suits him because, I mean, that ability to this way, is just fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, full respect to him. 173 is plenty.
How much admiration do you have for the skills that he possesses in the fingers and the wrist and the release?
Unbelievably appreciative of being able to do that art. I think the funny thing is, I mean, you'll know in TV, when you start to do a job, what you actually know at that stage is pretty scary when you look back compared to what you do by the end of your career. So what he did at the outset is he had that ability to shape it both ways. Now, that's kind of a skill that people develop over years. Whereas for him, it's almost like he came into the equation with it already. He's obviously knows a lot more about his body now, about bowling, about how he gets his body positions. And I mean, him and Brody have got a wealth of experience, and he talked about how they discuss bowling with him. And in the 100, we sat with Brody waiting for the game to start, and just his thoughts on how he feels he can be best effective bowling-wise, sort of technical issues. I mean, what he's got in that brain now, 20 years on from when he made his debut, will be something that you've got to be able to try and tap into. You know, you talk about surgeons who maybe do a knee surgery, and they can write a thesis on, you go in, you look for this, and you sort of get that done and you come out. Cricket is situational. I mean, Jimmy, we're going to go play in Sri Lanka, we're going to go play in India, we're going to play in Pakistan. You know, what's the skills that are required? He's got it all in his brain. And I think that experience has allowed him just to continue to grind it out. And, I mean, even the daunting fact of 5 weeks of no cricket before this test match, it's not a bother.
Would you have found that daunting?
Immensely. I mean, I was a guy who used to put a lot of time into trying to prepare, so I would have felt uneasy, let me put it that way, particularly at the start of my career, and not having had a 4-day game or something just to get myself in. But that wouldn't bother him in the slightest. Give him the ball, off you go. And that's the experience, that's the understanding he has about his game, his body, and what's required of him.
About his body, he has admitted to that he is now probably taking heed of a bit more advice from certain people in the medical side of things, the nutritional side of things. And you listen to the England guy, he said now he's probably fitter than he's almost ever been, which is another remarkable thing, that he's continually want to get better, both physically and skill-wise. It's
a maturity thing too, isn't it? I mean, you either get to a stage where, had enough, let me pull the string. Whereas he's actually thought, no, I still enjoy it. And how can I still continue to get the best out of myself? I mean, 10 minutes in the ice bath, he says it flippantly, it's awful. Yeah. Absolutely awful. Well, why would you want to do that to yourself? Ronaldo's another example of a guy who always goes and gets an ice bath, and it's just the drive, enjoying what you're doing, and how long can I push this on for?
How long do you think England should just try and eke this out? I mean, he obviously wants to keep playing, but do they have to pick their fights with Jimmy? And what I mean by that is Pakistan is not an easy place for a seam bowler to go. You might need different skills. Would you, I suppose the same question about Stuart Broad, be in a position where you just said, you know what, we're in Pakistan, that's not going to be your forte, but we want you ready to go at the start of next summer?
I think you've got to start ranking your series with him and having that understanding. I mean, he'll probably still want to go and play. I mean, he probably had that desire to do so. But when you look, which is the series you want to make sure he's fit for, and it would be the Ashes. So you would want to have him ready to go here. So you've got to weigh up. I think also it's important that the younger brigade, the brigade that's coming in after him, are learning. And without them getting the experience, I mean, I know there was a bit of a stink about going to the West Indies and not taking Anderson and Broad. But in many ways, it probably wasn't the worst thing for those two individuals, because it gave them opportunity to rest and, you know, be fine and fit and raring to go for this England series. So I suppose the challenge is when you look from the outside, you know, just forgetting the fact of Anderson and Broad, you've got to think to yourself, where are the next best? Because a lot of the bowlers I see, I mean, your Overtons, your Stones, your Robinsons, they almost seem to me like Australian kind of length bowlers, sort of hit back of a length. There hasn't been someone like a Jimmy. I mean, I haven't been exposed to anyone on the international stage playing for England where you go, oh, look at that skill, length, control. There's not one of those really coming through. It almost seems back of a length bowlers, more like the Stuart Broader kind of approach. So the fact that there's no one really knocking down the door to say, listen, I'm your next Jimmy, which we can see is quite rare, because 173 games is quite rare. But where's that kind of bowler coming from? So I still think there needs to be a process where that's been developed behind the scenes. Whereas whatever you can eke out of them now, there's no egos, there's no issues there. They just thoroughly still enjoying it and want to do as best as they can for as long as they can.
Come back to that in just 1 second. Tea has been taken here at Lord's because of the weather. I don't think Jimmy Anderson will be bowling much, or maybe not anyone will be bowling much today if it continues to rain like it has done over the last hour. Lord's is absolutely underwater. It has exceptional drainage.